Hey, what's up everybody, this is Muth24, and today I've got another DVD review. This time it is of the Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam, A New Translation films. This series came out 2005, 2006, and basically it's a retelling of the original Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam series. They split it up into 3 films. The first film is like an hour and a half long, and the second and third films are both like an hour and 40 minutes. So pretty much the same amount of time for each film, and not terribly long for any given one of them. Now, one of the things that they advertised a lot with these films is there's going to be a new animation style. And it's a lot like the animation style you get in Unicorn Gundam or even the 00 movie, Awakening the Trailblazer. It's not quite as up to par with those ones just because it came out a few years beforehand, but it's sort of a similar style. One thing that is kind of interesting, though, is the fact that they showed off all the promotional material having this new animation style and stuff, that only... with the first film, it's only a third of the film that gets that new animation style. All the rest of it is kept from the old 1985 animation. With the second and third films, you get quite a bit more. Each of those films is like 60% at least gets the new animation style, with the rest of it being the old style. Which is definitely better, because the first film is a bit of a letdown in terms of the getting to see the new visuals and everything. But I feel like if they were going to go that extra mile to show off all this new animation in all of the trailers and make it for, 60% of the second and third films, why not just go the extra distance and do that for the entire thing? It just seems kind of silly to me. The transition back and forth is really random at times, especially in the first film. It jumps back and forth a bunch, within a couple minutes, which is just really odd. Also, the old animation style, for whatever reason, there's like a really grainy filter over it, whereas the new stuff looks very clean. And that grainy filter on the old stuff was not present in the Anime Legends collection of the original Zeta Gundam series. So I don't know if they decided to, not clean that up like they did with the remastered DVDs, or if they just deliberately did that for, showing the big difference between the old style and the new style. I'm not entirely sure. It looks really weird, though, and I wasn't a big fan of that part. But in terms of the story, you do get the same Zeta Gundam story from the 80s. It's pretty much all the main stuff that you need to know is retained in here. There's a few minor things like where did the Mark II get its new paint scheme from, and where did the Hyakushiki come from. They don't explain minor stuff like that, but it's really not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. Everything that you need to know is covered in the story. They do cut some stuff back a little bit just because of time constraints. They do cut some of the battle sequences out, like the second battle with 4 is not in here at all. Rosamia is only in the Gap Plant. So there's some sequences they do cut back on quite a bit. And they also alter a couple of scenes, not significantly. It's just a few transitions to make a little bit more fluid story there. And I think that only happens like 3 or 4 times throughout the entire run of the New Translation films. The 3 films that you get here, I'm going to show at the front of the box. You got Quattro, Camille, Amuro, and then there's the Mark II in the background. You got the side there, and then the back showing off, what all 3 films are in there. But if you pull them out of the slip cover, you have all 3 of them in there. And the first one here is called Heirs to the Stars, same cover art as you got there on the main slipcase. The back is a little bit different, though, because you have the Mark II. The second one is called Lovers. They have Camille and like all the main female characters and the Psycho Gundam in the background. And then on the back you have the Super Gundam. Again, some more shots from the film. And the third one is called Love is the Pulse of the Stars. Got Camille and the Zeta Gundam there on the front. The Hyakushiki on the back. Again, same sort of a setup there. You don't really get that much in the way of special features. You get some trailers for other Bandai anime. You get some of the promotional material they used for the New Translation films. But one thing that's really disappointing about this release, it's not about the films themselves, it's just about the release here in North America, is that there's no English audio. And were this not a Gundam series, I might not have been quite as upset with that, but like every other Gundam DVD they've ever released has had English and Japanese audio. And all you get here is the Japanese. So, if you're not a fan of reading subtitles, it's probably not going to be quite your thing. the other thing that's really weird is that, as I mentioned, there's only a few new scenes that they added in. It would have been really easy for Bandai to call in the cast for like a weekend, at most, and just record these new lines and set them in there, and then copy and paste everything else from the Zeta Gundam series into the new films, because pretty much all of the dialogue and all of the scenes are retained from the original series, so I don't understand why they didn't just do a copy and paste thing. I think it would have been really easy for them to do that, and it just seems lazy on Bandai's part, to be honest, to not go ahead and, copy that over to the new films. I really did enjoy these films. The soundtrack is pretty much the same as well. You get the old 80s soundtrack, but you do have a new intro by Gact. He does a couple intros and then one outro theme, I think, for all the films. But I really did enjoy them. I thought they were pretty fun to go back and watch. I still say the Zeta Gundam series is superior to the films, and generally I'm not a huge fan of these compilation films, if you will. But I think this one did a pretty good job. It does cover all the bases that it needs to. You get some good character development. There are some characters who are scaled back a bit, as I mentioned before. So some of your favorites might not all be there. Also, the ending is a little bit different. It's not like they changed the entire thing, but there are a few key things toward the end they very much altered. And then they also go out of their way to explain what happens to some of the minor characters, because with the Zeta Gundam series, it basically just ends at the end of the Battle of Grips. With the films, you get an ending that explores what happened to some of the minor characters who weren't present at Grips. So it does provide a little bit more satisfying wrap-up on that end. But with that, and I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen either the series or the films yet, but with the one big change that they make at the end of the series, those two kind of alongside each other, I think just kind of leaves sort of a neutral impact in the film. It's not necessarily for better or for worse, it's just very different. And I think it's all right for the the films being in a little bit different style than the series was. But like I said, I enjoyed these. I really wish they had English audio on them. I mean, I'm not saying that the Zeta Gundam series dub was the best. It really wasn't great compared to some of the other Gundam dubs they've done in the past, but I think it's just nice to have it there if you want that. Like, I'm not opposed to reading the subtitles on this, but I know some people definitely prefer to just hear the English audio instead of having to read the subtitles, and like I said, it does seem kind of lazy on Bandai's part to not have just copy and pasted that from the series. But anyways, if you can find this and pick it up, it's really not that expensive. I think mine was like $35 or something like that for all three films, which isn't too bad. And you get a fair amount out of it. I do wish they had more special features, but then again, considering they didn't do anything with the dub there, not terribly surprising. But anyways, that's pretty much it for this review, and with that, I will see you guys next time.